you can bring that together and they really understand the business aspect of it, but then also balance that with the compassion and the ethics that foundationally, we've built over the years as patient care providers.
What's going on, everybody? It's John Stamper and excited to be with you. All right. So if you have not heard the Cellerant Best of Class Hygiene Awards, very, very exciting time this time of year. This is such a unique award. And I know Dr. Lou Schumann, the Cellerant team, Donovan, Melissa, everybody, and this whole panel, I should say, of colleagues in our industry that have spent a lot of time to highlight some of these great technologies in hygiene. And so what we wanted to do was we're going to spend some time with the panelists and we're going to kind of get their thoughts. Like, what was it like to have to make these decisions on these great companies? Like what's going on in the world of hygiene, all that great stuff. So this is our first one and I'm absolutely honored. I've never had the opportunity to actually speak with Sheena Hinson. So I'm very excited to be with you. You've done so much for the industry, obviously a hygienist, senior marketing manager at Philips, and all kinds of good things that you're doing in this industry. So Sheena, it's good to see you. How you doing?
I am great. Thank you for having me. It's been a wild ride, especially this year, but I'm really excited. A lot of great things happening all over the industry.
Well, I know the Cellerant team was super excited to add you to the panel for the Hygiene Awards. This is your first year, which we were talking, so I can't wait to hear you share what that experience has been like. But before we do that, I'd love to just have you maybe share with everybody a little bit about, the great work that you've done in dentistry, and then we can hop right into what the experience was like to nominate and obviously, determine the recipients for this year's awards.
So my background is dental hygiene. So I started out about 15 years ago in clinical hygiene and, over the years learned a lot about the business side of dentistry and leadership, of course. And then I got into practice consulting. So I would go in, kind of help them look at things and see where they were from a, business standpoint and profitability standpoint, and really guide that direction in practices. And just really following my natural curiosity of figuring out where the gaps are and, what keeps those that are wildly successful in this industry, what are the pain points in their days? Like what keeps them up at night? And so that natural curiosity really led me down the path of really marketing strategy and, go to market and focus more on the relationships and really the opportunities to be an asset to the industry supporting companies. So it was beautiful to kind of see all of that come together. And, I'm a firm believer in, instead of trying to be great at everything, figure out what you're really great at and then surround yourself with those that complement those strengths. So, I'm honored to be in the position I am now, leading professional education and, the KOL relationships within Philips from the global perspective. So it's a beautiful thing, as we see all the innovation going on and being able to connect some of those dots, like on the KOL side, but then also with product innovation. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So here is kind of how I landed in that role. It's one of those things like it just happens to you versus you find it. I'm really happy that it's worked out that way.
Well, I love that. And again, I know for those of you that are not aware of the Cellerant Best of Class Technology Awards, which really has been like the Oscars for dentistry. And when I think about, you think about other industries, Sheena, right? It's like outside of dentistry, there's awards to recognize and to highlight the great innovations and the great companies and things like that. So I know that this was so, near and dear to the heart of Dr. Lou Schumann on the technology side. And now with the emergence of the hygiene side, wow, has it been great to watch hygiene grow these last couple of years, and especially a lot of the technologies to make the hygiene appointment better, patient experience better, bring hygienists like yourself into the fold to be able to work together with these companies and give them your insight as a clinician on what they can do to make all those things better. So very excited to have you. All right. So the first thing I want to ask you is that when you got the call or you got the email or you got the ask to be a part of this panel to, nominate these companies, what were your emotions?
I was excited, of course. Before I stepped out of an operatory, I, was familiar with the award. Some of the products that I had used in practice were, award recipients. So the fact that I could use, what I had done chair side and what I needed more of chair side and really, understanding that, there are a lot of bridges to be built. So the fact that I could take part in that, I mean, it was a big spark of joy, I'll say. So I'm just amazed with all the innovation in the industry. And I think when people think of dental hygiene and with dentistry in general, and how can we grow, how can we innovate as an industry, you know, that mindset tends to go towards patient care. Like, how can we provide better care? What products can we use? But I think a huge part of that, the products are vital. Obviously, I work with a company that we make, amazing products and programs and resources. But I think also the tools that enable us to spend more time in that patient care. So you mentioned the technology piece. It's vital. And so many practicing clinicians, they just honestly, they're the heroes of the industry. They're getting it done. So the fact that I can help filter down and really highlight, like, this is the best of the best, this is what you need, this is an enabler for you to continue to provide that high standard of care. It was, excitement really is the main word that I can think of, because being out in the market and, learning about the different, SaaS products and tools from a digital dentistry standpoint. And then, of course, the product lines that some I've used, some I haven't. And then, of course, from a diagnostic standpoint, there is such a gap in getting that technology and those options to the end user. So the fact that we can help really narrow that down and put it on a platter for these dental professionals is really an honor.
I've been sharing with a lot of people that I speak with that recently I've been having conversations with people outside of dentistry. And, as you know, Sheena, like, dentistry feels like a very small industry for those of us, right? I mean, obviously it's big in its own right, but there is a lot of buzz outside of dentistry. When I ask people, what are you hearing about it? It's exactly what you just said, is that people are realizing the advancements that are being made in technology. And I think there's also a lot of talk between, the oral systemic link and the awareness of how important, what patients get done with their healthcare and in their mouth, as far as like their own health. And so I think that's exciting. But I think what's unique is that I've been seeing this a lot lately is that if I put myself in the shoes of some of these companies that are going to be recognized or what have you, and they have this type of focus group or this panel like yourself and all the hygienists that are there and Dr. Lou Schumann and his team, I think how great is it for them to know that they get this feedback to, learn about, what they're doing, what's great, like how it's going to be able to help the practices. It really is an exciting time. And it's kind of a unique way for these companies, like you mentioned, to make sure that they're creating technologies that are going to be beneficial in the practice. It's not just someone creating a product and then in their own lab in the back and not communicating with people in the industry and then putting it out there. I think that's another exciting thing about this whole process and these awards is the interaction, right, that they get to have with all of you, and you get to learn how these can be beneficial.
Right. And I think it's that nice balance of clinical experience, clinical knowledge, expertise, balanced with business acumen, right? I know in our field, in dental hygiene specifically, and even in dentistry as a whole, there is certainly some pause whenever you talk about, ROI of a product to a business or, profitability and so on. So I think the fact that you've got this team of brilliant minds that I'm honored to be a part of, you can bring that together and they really understand the business aspect of it, but then also balance that with the compassion and the ethics that foundationally, we've built, over the years as patient care providers. So I think it's really a unique value for the companies because they're kind of essentially having our, qualitative research filtered down and balanced with what makes sense from a business perspective and really served up straight to the dental professionals that need it. So I think that's a huge opportunity and really sets it apart, because in professional education, there are definitely gaps in the market. Like it's quite siloed, really, just like with, public health and private practice. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing, but sometimes it's communicated as if it's different teams. So I think the fact that we've bridged that together with this panel is fascinating to hear, like some of the conversations when we have our meetings, and really the perspectives that aren't an echo chamber, which is great, right? It's always good, really vital whenever you're selecting something and presenting it to the public as, hey, this is a standout. This is the best of the best. So it's nice to have that engagement, into like the contrarian aspect of what we believe. And hygienists, we believe firmly when we believe in something. So it's really great to see that and hear the diverse perspectives, even though we're all essentially coming from the same background as dental hygienists. So that's been really fun to watch.
One of the things I've learned in my 20 years in dentistry is when I think about dental hygiene, I think about just passionate, women and men in that space. And it's been so exciting to watch the emergence of all of you, go from working in the operatory to now to being in these leadership positions. And in this particular case, actually making decisions on nominating, companies and their technologies. How in the world, when all of you got together, right, when you look at this list of panelists of hygienists, to make these decisions, I'm just curious, like what the process is like how do each of you, go through this process of determining companies? I just loved a little bit of sneak peek. Obviously, I know you can't share all of it, but I just was very curious about kind of what that was like for you, especially during your first year.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't know what to expect. I was like, okay, is this like a bubble sheet, like the old school Scantron? We just put in our info, but it was not, thankfully. But it was great. There was, a lot of very, I don't know that constructive banter is the right term, but really that professional delivery of contrarian aspect. Like, okay, you believe this. Okay, let's dig deeper. Why do you think this is a good product? Or if they've used something clinically, well, what makes this one better versus that, in your opinion? So that was, a huge piece of it, not just, oh, do we think this is good? Yes. Oh, do we think this is better? Maybe. It was really digging into like, why is it better? What makes this more innovative? How is this going to really advance our profession? Not just in hygiene, right? Even in dentistry as a whole. So there was a lot of that, really digging down a lot deeper to back up our thoughts, right? Because we don't want to just, yeah, I think that one's got a pretty label on it, or yeah, sure, I think that'll work great. It was really digging down into the details so that we, present something that is accurate, that is based on facts, based on research. So that was a big, big part of it. And then we were talking about dentistry just as a whole. There is so much innovation in dentistry, and typically, traditionally, as a professional, I would say the bulk of dental hygienists, if you say, what are you doing to grow? What are you doing? Like, what sort of training are you receiving as a professional? Many cases, it's, well, I go to my yearly state meeting, or maybe they go to a national meeting. But a lot of the advancements in our industry are outpacing education at an insane rate. And it's great because people are innovating, people are finding solutions that we didn't even know were possible. But the difficult piece of that is, you've got dental professionals that are going to, some of the meetings, and they're getting great content, but it's not really advancing them as far as it could. I think that's what I'm most excited about, to be able to deliver that stuff at an accelerated pace. Bring them the products, the innovations, the technology that, in many cases, the educational institutions don't they're not even aware of. So that's another initiative, at Philips. We really want to become an integral partner to dental professionals, right? Not just be a resource to, oh, I need to, yes, you're the number one whitening. Let me order this. Or you've got these great, power toothbrushes and interdental cleanings. But what value can we add beyond that? Because we know, in the panel, and then of course, with my role at Philips, that if we invest this time into delivering solutions that, take some sort of pain or, bring in some sort of efficiency to these dental professionals, that at the end of the day, patient care is going to be elevated, right? And we can provide that high level of care while maintaining an ethically profitable business. So it's great that we're able to really condense that and deliver it.
I was also thinking what's unique about these awards is, this as a hygienist, it's a busy profession, right? You're back and forth, you're seeing patients or what have you. In the back of your mind, or you're hearing things like you mentioned, you go to a state meeting, you connect with your other, hygienists, maybe on social media. So you hear about these other technologies that are out there, but do you always have the time to go vet them or what have you? And so I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a hygienist, and knowing that all of you as a panel have got together, you're vetting these companies. There's such a level of trust, I believe, right? So that once I now see these technologies and I know that they went through this process to be recognized, I feel like, Sheena, it can speed up the process for me as a hygienist or a practice owner, when you're going to make that decision to go purchase them, add them to the practice. You know how it works. I'm a hygienist. I get excited about a technology. I got to go buy in from the practice owner and the dentist, make sure that they're good with it. I kind of feel like, and I'm curious on your thoughts on this, that like this process, these awards, this recognition, the work that goes behind the scenes that you all are doing can speed up that process to get these technologies into the practice because the confidence is there.
Exponentially, like there's without a doubt. And when we talk about bringing a product into the practice, we have to balance, like, what is the benefit to a patient? What is the benefit to the providers? What is the benefit to the practice? And, it's important to have all of those different perspectives, right? Like we can have a great product, but if it, is the cost prohibitive, can we really utilize that to provide a higher standard of care? So what we're doing is taking really the needs we see in market, from our personal experience, in chairside to, the experiences we've had with other practices and coaching and consulting relationships, and really consolidating that. And like you said, just delivering it, making it easy, and understanding that, okay, this is a great product, but then also this makes sense from a business standpoint, because dental hygienists can be convinced that this is the greatest product ever made, but they still have to go back and relay that in a credible way to the decision maker, right? Because there are only so many dollars that can be spent. So I think that one of the things that we are striving to do is to make those decisions easier, filter it down so that they don't go and, spend money on a product that they're disappointed with. And then it always goes this way. It goes and just sits on a shelf and expires. And then the next time you want to order something, you hear that like, well, last time we wasted all that, we shouldn't, in-office dispense this or that. So I think that there's an enormous value in that, in time savings, in credibility, and then in the end of it, cost savings, because they're not just buying something just to see how it goes.
Yeah, completely. All right. So I should have mentioned this at the beginning, and I'll make sure that I mention this as I speak with all the panelists. But I think what's also exciting about this is that in the July edition for RDH magazine, the recipients will be, recognized. They'll actually, going to be sharing that. And then all of the winners will be at the RDH Under One Roof. I think it's July 18th to the 20th or 21st in Denver this year. So I think that's also very exciting. And the one last thing I wanted to ask you as we wrap here, Sheena, is that for your fellow hygienists, like who the recipients are for this year. What can you just say, like in your final words for your fellow hygienists, of like what they have in store to learn about some of these technologies? Like, how excited are you for them? I guess that's really the best question.
I'm really excited, and I don't want to give anything away, but I will say you will not be disappointed. I can guarantee you will not be disappointed. Um, I might give something away if I give any more hints. But no, under one roof, I will say, come speak to us, like the panelists. I know, I'm not sure if everyone will be there, but I know I'll be there. Also, RDH Evolution for a lot of the hygienists that are wanting to really do more inside or outside the op. Come and let's chat, see how, we want to hear your feedback too. Everything is not just, our ideas. A lot of this is feedback we get from practicing professionals. So come and find us. Maybe you'll introduce us to something new. Nobody owns the market on great ideas. So I'm excited to meet a lot of them, the hygienists that we're trying to support in person. But yeah, you're going to be excited.
Awesome. Well, Sheena, thanks so much. I know Melissa, Chief Hygiene Officer at Cellerant, was so excited, when you got added to this panel, as was Donovan, as was, Dr. Lou Schumann. And so excited to have you. Thank you very much. We know you're very busy doing a lot of great things in the industry. Good luck here the next couple of months as you continue to finalize these recipients. We can't wait for everybody to learn about them. And good luck as we continue to do this year after year and recognize these great companies through the Cellerant Best of Class Hygiene Award. So Sheena, thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.